What's up, everybody? Welcome to Resident Casuals, and welcome to our episode-by-episode breakdown of the Umbrella Academy, or as we like to call it, the Brolly School. I'm Scotty, and today I'm joined by BT.
What's happening?
What's happening, dude? How are you?
I'm all good, I'm all good.
That's good.
Excited to talk about this show.
Yeah, man, big time, big time.
Yeah.
So the first season was something else, especially coming from a comic
It
as
was.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was really good. And I've been dying to text you for like a week about it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I've been like, shall I text him, or what? And then I thought, no, you know what, I won't, because I want the reaction to be a bit more genuine on the podcast. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, big time. No, it was a good thing because otherwise I would have just completely ran through everything. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'll let you go first about. So, what's your background with the Umbrella Academy? So did you read the comics or did you just go straight into the first series?
Well, as a youth in my younger days, I was big into My Chemical Romance. I'm a huge My Chemical Romance fan. And then I was a huge like Gerard Way fan. Like he's quite like like my idol. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He can write, he can sing, he can play guitar, he can do everything. He can draw. He was just everything I wanted to be when I was like 13, 14. And then as I grew older, I grew up with him. Do
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So as he became more of a mature artist,
Hmm.
I was becoming a mature person. So I'd be like, oh, like everything he did was just fucking amazing to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I swear?
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I sound?
No, you cannot fucking swear.
Yeah. So yeah, so everything he did was just amazing to me, and all the solo stuff and all the solo music and every album they've ever done was just amazing, and all the concept he did, and I was really into it, and I
Hmm.
found out a lot about it, and then I heard he was doing his own comic. Well, first I heard he was doing his own Batman comic. I don't know if you know he was planning to do that years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, because he was writing
Have
for
you
he was
seen?
he was
Yeah,
gonna get drafted by DC.
yeah. Well, at first he was going to do a TV show for Cartoon Network,
Hmm.
and then 9/11 happened,
Hmm.
and then he didn't get the role in the end because like all the meetings got pushed back and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and then they got Aqua Team Hunger Force instead,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than he was going to get a show and he picked that one instead,
yeah.
and then he joined My Chemical Romance and he became the Jared Way we know.
Hmm.
So then obviously everything he did I knew about, and then I knew this comic was coming out, so I got the comic straight away.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is amazing. And then obviously second one came out, read that one, and then the Netflix were like, oh my god, we're doing a TV show, and then that was it. Then I was waiting for it.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So yeah, so that was like
Mm,
my thing, like Gerard Way. So obviously
yeah,
he was the writer of Doom Patrol for a while as well, wasn't he? So
yeah, I did
like
Doom
so
Patrol. Got
being
that. I didn't like it too much though, if I'm honest.
yeah, fair enough. I
Yeah,
mean,
I just
you
don't know,
don't
but
have to
like,
like everything.
yeah, I don't think it's him because
Hmm.
everything he does, I think, is amazing. I think it's Doom Patrol itself.
Hmm.
It's really weird. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean?
I know what
It's
you mean. Yeah,
really
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
And I was
It's
kind
very
of like,
DC, isn't it?
yeah, it's all like there's a living street, and I feel like you got to know the lore of Doom Patrol enough to read this comic,
Mm,
and I didn't know it enough.
yeah. Whereas
I could go
whereas
back
he
in.
had all the vaults to go through. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you don't understand how a person is a street,
Hmm.
do you know what I mean, or a van in his one, if I remember, and I was like, no, but that went for me, but
Cool.
not because of him.
Yeah.
Everything he did was good.
That's it. Well, speaking of weird, anyway, like, there's loads of weird and
Yeah,
crazy characters. The Umbrella Academy. So the first season, it was to quickly recap anyway, is
yeah,
it all started and like it was just quite strange, wasn't it? So like you started off
yeah,
with seeing Luther on the moon, didn't you? Well, I believe so
yeah,
anyway. So and then seeing Luther on the moon, and then seeing everybody else, and he's staring back at Earth, and everyone went like, "Why is he living on a trailer in
yeah.
on the moon and whatever? And why
Oh
is he
no, yeah,
massive?" And then anyway, so they all come down, and then they find out. Well, the dad had
yeah.
died, and then later on and stuff like that, they all have a mechanical mom, and
Mhm.
then that all carries on. Uh, and then they all start finding out like about their powers and stuff like that, living in the house. They see Pogo, which
Yeah,
is the talking chimpanzee, and then all their, and then to speed up completely, how it all more or less goes to shit is towards the end, Vanya starts using her powers. So
Yeah.
going through the numbers and what have you, Vanya was always left at the end, wasn't she? She was number 7,
Yeah. Well, she
I
didn't get
believe.
a number.
Oh, didn't she? No. Okay, there you go. Sorry, I missed that part.
I
So yeah,
don't
so she
believe
didn't.
she got a number.
Well, yeah, sorry. She was always at the end because he knew
Yeah.
how powerful she was. So
Mhm.
she had a pretty rough childhood. I mean, she never
Yeah.
exactly
It was
got sent.
awful.
She never got sent into like the banks and things like that, and had to like go and kill
Yeah.
people and stuff like that. But she was still ostracized. Ostracized is more the word,
She had
I
a
guess.
lonely childhood, didn't she? She had
Yeah,
like
very much so.
she was left alone and no one liked her, and
Hmm.
the kids bullied her, and
Yeah, that's it.
I
And
mean,
then
I mean, none of them had it good. None of them
none,
had it good.
none of them had
Do
it
you know
good.
what I mean?
None of them had it good. So anyway, so moving way further into when they're all grown up and stuff like that, and towards the end, so
Mhm.
ramping up quickly into season 2. So what happens is Vanya more or less like snaps, and which is a
Yeah.
little bit different, slightly different from the comic, with the whereas the orchestra dude,
Yeah.
like the full, he had like a white face mask on or something like that, or he was
Mhm.
painted and whatever. He was the conductor, I believe. And then anyway, Vanya goes full white. She has a full white suit on. Her eyes go white. Her face goes white, and she has the power to more or less destroy the
Yeah.
universe. And so she does. So she throws a
Yeah.
massive beam into the moon, and then boom, it crashes. And then they all jump through a portal. And at the first season, we don't know what they're doing. They just go through a portal. And
Yeah.
then anyway,
There's nothing.
so go on.
They can time travel, isn't it?
Yes.
So
So
you can send
five.
them somewhere. Yeah.
So five can time travel. Well, five can. He can shift space and time, can't he? So he can like jump through a portal
Mhm.
or what have you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so they jump through five's portal. They're all there. Then season 2 begins, and it begins with that exact scene. So the comet's coming down, so the moon breaks apart, and then there's a big asteroid coming down. It
Yeah.
blows up the Earth more or less, and then they all get dropped into 1960s Dallas, and then we begin season
Yep.
2. So what I saw is, so I've written this down. So Klaus and Ben are first, and they drop in February 11th, 1960. So
Nice.
they drop straight in, and then I think dropping straight in like that, I think the soundtrack behind them all is quite good as well. The
Yeah.
CGI, like all the effects that they've used, they're quite good as well. And then
Yeah.
he drops in and he goes around, he figures out the date, and he's like, "What is going on?" Shortly after, Allison arrives, and then sorry, I wasn't saying shortly after. The next year, in 1961, the same date, she arrives, and
Mhm.
then she also still can't speak because
Yeah.
she had a throat cut by Vanya
Yeah.
using a bowstring. Uh, and this is where, for me, I was like, wow, okay, this is where they're going with this. She walks into a cafe, and then everyone looks at her, and then one guy points his hand up to a sign which says whites only. And I was like, wow, okay, this is happening. Like
You
they,
know,
yeah.
yeah, I really liked how they did that
Mm,
because in the comics, I know we're not going to touch on the comics too much,
mm,
but I don't remember them ever discussing race in it.
mm,
And I think when they cast Emma Raver
right.
Lampman, when they cast her, they changed that backstory. They had to change that story
Hmm.
because that doesn't ever. I'm 90% sure that's not in the comic,
Yeah,
and I think they understood that what's going on with everything in the world right now, and that would have been before that, to be fair, because it would
yeah.
have been filmed about a year ago before Black Lives Matter,
Hmm.
and then I think the way they've put it in, it's meaningful.
Hmm.
It's not just like, oh yeah, look, you know what I mean. We're not ignoring it.
Yeah.
It matters.
No, yeah, like it
Do you know what I
100%
mean?
matters. Yeah, like
Yeah,
this is like, for me, when I first saw that episode, it was like, this is going to matter. This is going to mean
yeah,
something
and I like
to the
that.
story. Yeah.
I like that because they could have just ignored it,
Hmm. Yeah,
but they didn't.
and they didn't. Yeah, which is really good.
Mm,
And then going on next, Luther arrives, and then uh, sorry, in between all of them, we see a camera flash in a window as well, don't we?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll talk about that dude a little bit later, but we're seeing the camera flashing and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
Luther arrives, crashes straight into a dumpster, and then just more or less immediately starts crying out Allison and crying, and then the homeless dude next to him's like, Allison, and
Yeah,
he's just like, what is going on? And then
that whole guy was weird.
we'll,
It was
we'll,
just, why was that even there?
I
Like, it
know,
wasn't
I
needed
know.
at all, and it just kept doing. I was like, is he in it or something? Is he a person?
Yeah, but there's something we'll come back and touch on with Luther about his emotions and things like that once we find out. And then so he lands in
Yeah,
62. Diego lands, funnily enough, on his feet because he's an assassin type, isn't
yeah,
he? So which was quite good. And then immediately runs off and go and saves a lady
yeah,
nurse, and then gets in trouble for it. But then he
yeah,
runs over. He lands in 63 as well, but he immediately runs over to a TV and then finds out JFK's still alive, and he's like, and you can see his face change and morph, and he's like,
yeah.
okay, like, wow, okay, this is happening, as well as taking in that he's in 1963, but he's like, the president's still alive. And then
Hmm.
next, Vanya lands. She lands October 12th in 63 as well. So she
Yeah,
drops down, and then she's like, oh, she's still wearing a white garb from the
yeah,
last episode. She runs out into the road, gets hit by a car, and then a boy and a woman come over and like ask her like, or come up and go like, "Oh my god, what's happened?" And then
hmm,
that fades out, and then this is when the story carries on a lot quicker. Is Five arrives during the Soviet attack, and he lands November 25th, 1963, and then you can
yeah,
just as soon as he lands, you can like you don't I don't think you oh you do see a flash. Sorry, he looks up and you see a flash in the background, and then but there's
hmm,
more antenna this time. There's way more kit, if you will. And then anyway,
yeah,
so he walks out the tank goes by, and he's just going like, what is happening? There's bullets flying everywhere. He looks at the paper saying that the Soviets are invading, and he's like,
hmm.
I just don't understand. And then this is where this gets awesome for me, is because finally we can see it all in action. Is he looks over and everyone's using their powers. Oh no, sorry, a
I was gonna
like a
say that.
yeah. So a shell
I was
goes
gonna say
off
that to
out of the
you. That's
tank.
literally my first note. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
like that
like
whole scene
yeah,
is my first note. It's like it's amazing to see
mhm,
everyone's powers in effect because in season one, everyone's kind of using the powers, but no one's kind of doing anything.
mm,
And then on this one, we see them all doing it. Like Vanya is so
yeah,
powerful. Do you know what I mean? Luther's like bulletproof. You
yeah,
didn't know he was bulletproof, but like
yeah.
he is now. Do you know what I mean? Like then Diego's doing that flips and that he's dodging all the bullets and he's flinging knives at everyone
That's it. And
and
Allison,
oh yeah, I was
Allison
like,
said, "I heard a rumor that I
yeah,
blew your mind," and their heads literally explode. Like it's fantastic.
yeah.
Like,
And
and
then
then
you've got like,
Klaus and Ben, like they're both using. Like Klaus
yeah,
finally uses his ghost abilities to like push all the ghosts. Like so, probably presumably all the people that died
Soviet
either
ghost in it.
then and there, or
Yeah,
like so he's using them, and then you look up and you see Ben, and then you finally see exactly what his power is, and that's like the tentacles and stuff coming out of his chest,
yeah,
out of his body this
yeah,
time.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
in the first one, you didn't know, or like not stretching back to the comics or anything like that, but in the first season, I should say, you only ever see him behind like a like
The glass,
yeah, like
man. It was like
frosted
behind that like
glass.
frosted glass. Yeah,
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 yeah. So like we were like when I first saw it, I was like, well, what's the go? Is he turning into like a big squid or something like that, or like whatever, or is it is he still a
yeah.
human? What's going on? Anyway, so I'm super stoked that they used that you could see
I
exactly what
loved
was
that
going
bit.
on, and you
I loved
realize
it.
just how strong he is as well, like
Yeah,
without the tentacles as well. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
and then so that was Klaus, and then so we've seen, and then yeah, that's everyone. And then so
yeah.
five, and then
It was amazing.
fives, yeah, that was one of the coolest scenes, like
Yeah,
period.
because I really wanted them. I wanted like we know that they're meant to be superheroes and they're meant to be super powerful,
Yeah,
but then we finally get to see it, and I thought that was really important
yeah,
because like obviously we had a whole season of them last time, and like Luther doesn't physically he throws a few people around, but he doesn't really do anything. He's meant to be super strong and Diego's throwing his knives, and we just don't see anyone doing anything. We
yeah,
see them doing little bits, and we understand that they've got powers, but
mhm,
then to see them powerful
Yeah,
is really cool. It's really interesting. I'd
like
like to see
they're
more.
fully
I want to see
unlocked.
them do it more. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So they're fully unlocked and ready to go. So then after that happens, so five standing there just going, what is happening? And
yeah,
then Hazel drops out of nowhere and stops five, and he just says like, "You need to come with me, old timer," which is still a very good
yeah,
reference.
yeah.
And
I love
then
it.
so as he's dropped out and he's going like, well, what about like I need to save my family? And then he goes, well, you can't save your family if you're dead. And then he looks up and he goes, what are those? And he goes, nukes. And then all these nukes
Yeah,
come down and completely, and then like, as they're coming down, he's like he gives him his hand, and then they shoot
yeah,
back, and then they shoot out of time. Like as we saw in the first one, he still has the briefcase in order to move around and
hmm
use
yeah,
space
yeah.
and time. And then the big mushroom cloud as the Umbrella Academy. I thought that was great. Like that was really good. And then they all just get
Yeah,
blown away.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Like
go on.
that whole phase, because that's not very long. That
Mm.
whole section we've just spoke about is only probably about like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a superb intro.
Hmm.
It gives us, oh, we know exactly where everyone is. Well, it's a bit confusing about the times and stuff, but the whole show is about
Yeah,
time anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
that's it.
But like, we all know the stuff in the 60s, and we know that this thing's coming,
Hmm.
and it all looked cool, it all looked sharp, it all flowed amazing.
Hmm.
We got to see the powers, we got to see them devastated like Luthor, and it just set the season perfectly, set the tone, set everything ready. It was just like, this is what we're doing. Boom, we're
Yeah,
in.
we're in.
You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
This
Umbrella
is the end of the
Academy.
world. We need to stop it. Boom, Umbrella Academy. It's like,
That's it.
yeah, that's all I want from this show.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Big time, big time.
I
So
want,
yeah. So it's all
yeah, I
just
want
fully
some mad,
unlocked.
I want some mad end of the world or some mad thing happening, and they have to stop it in some really weird way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
And
give me that loads.
and the fact that Five seen what's that now? Three end of the worlds. He's seen three
Yeah,
apocalypses like happen. It's like I
and
know he's like 45. No, he's older than that. He's like 65 years
80, and
old.
he,
Is he? Oh,
it's
there you
like
go.
80,
Even
yeah,
more. So like he's about 120. All right, cool. He's um so he's seen all of that and he's lived through it all. And then it's like he's just not phased. Well, he's phased, but he's not
yeah.
phased. If that makes sense.
I really like Five as a character.
Yeah.
I think he's really good. He's really interesting.
Well, we won't get into that just yet
Yeah,
because then like the next few scenes is when you really get to
yeah.
see him. Okay. All right, we're going to take a break real quick and we're going to be right back with the next scenes. And we're back now. So, talking about Five and Hazel, they've
hmm
just. So, Hazel saved Five from the nuclear drop. And then we are 10 days earlier, which he explains a little bit later, which he explains while they're talking and things like that. And he explains about his missus. Is it Doris? That was her name? From the donut
Yeah,
shop? Yeah, yeah.
I don't
So,
know shop lady. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then he said like, "Oh, what happened to Doris?" And he says about, "Oh, cancer took her and it was fast stuff like that." And you go, "Oh yeah, I totally forgot she was like 30, 40 years way older than him."
yeah.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah, she's a lot older.
Yeah, and she's lovely as well. And the worst, like in the first season as well, it's like I thought she was gonna have a heart attack in the chair. Oh man,
Yeah,
oh that was I was heart I was my heart was breaking for him. I was like, "You can do it." And then anyway, okay,
yeah,
so and then a bus goes past them as they're talking about what happened in
yeah,
like the nukes dropped with 10 days earlier, so on and so forth. And then anyway, so the
yeah,
bus goes by and the Swedes arrive. Now you see these dudes walk out and you go like, okay, and you go like, okay, like when I first saw it I was like, oh, here we go, bloody Russians again. And then
yeah,
I was like, okay, yeah, like this is gonna happen. And then knowing their name also is a little, that was me going a little bit further than I should have because no one knows what they are or who they are
yeah, yeah. They
because
don't.
they
We
don't.
don't know it
We
at this point. We don't know anything about them.
at this point we don't know anybody else what they are, but we all know that. Well, now we know they're called the Swedes.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, and then so they come out of the bus and they just immediately start walking. Five sees them and just go, and who are they? And Hazel goes, oh, like you can just see him goes, oh, okay, that like this is it now. So
yeah,
they pull out their guns, and Hazel immediately pulls this yellow Kodak tape out and slips it into Five's pocket, and then
yeah,
pushes a briefcase in front of Five, and then they start shooting, and Hazel dies, which sucks because
Yeah.
Hazel was cool. And so everything starts happening. As the bullets start going everywhere. So they shoot up the place, right? And then
Yeah.
no one cares. Like everyone, like there's just people standing in the street. I don't get it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But
Like
just
there's only a
people
few
just
people who
turn
care.
and look.
Yeah, like that's it. Like
People
there's
just look.
a couple of people who were just near it who screamed and ran away, and then got 10 meters away from the bullet fire and just went, "Oh, okay, I'm just going to carry on my day," like GTA or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then,
My notes for this bit were
yeah,
just old Hazel looks great, and
he
I was like,
does.
oh, we get like another. He looks boss.
Yeah.
Beard, and he looks like because have you seen the actor whose name is, I will find it right now, Cameron Britton.
Right.
He's in he is in Mindhunters. Have you seen that?
No, but I've heard about it. What do you mean,
He
the
plays it.
Hazel?
Yeah, the guy who
Right.
plays Hazel, he's in it, and he's like plays this big, massive serial killer,
Oh,
and he's
really?
amazing in it. He's like, yeah, he's incredible in it,
Right.
and but like he's not that old.
Right.
Like he must be our age.
Yeah.
I don't think he's any older than me,
Right.
as in real life. But he looks great older.
Yeah.
And then obviously, my next note was poor Hazel,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I thought we were gonna get. I
Yeah.
thought he was
More.
gonna be in this season. I
Yeah.
thought he was gonna be in it
Yeah. That's
because
it.
I thought in season one he was really likable. His character was really well received.
Mm.
I thought
He changed from
because
being a
in the
mindless killer to having
yeah,
like a heart sort of thing.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think the because in the comics you don't really see the face, do you, of the
No,
killers?
you don't
They
really
just
see
have
it.
those masks on.
Well,
Do
in
you
the
know what I
comics, the
mean?
masks are different, aren't they?
Ah, they had like
The
the
teddy.
yellow the teddy bear,
Mm,
the pink teddy bear, and
mm,
then the rabbit,
yeah,
wasn't it?
they're slightly
They're,
different in the
they're the
show,
same. Oh,
but
are they?
obviously because it's adapted to. Anyway,
Mm.
pressing on, pressing on. So
Yeah.
we don't want to go on. Don't want to go too deep into the comics, otherwise we'll argue forever. So anyway,
Yeah.
so they shoot up the place, no one cares, and then so Five escapes, and then so he bamps to the roof, and then
Mhm.
you look at the briefcase that he's holding, and it's blue bullets. So I'm quite interested about that, like whether that's the machine in the suitcase that's which they've shot into, or it's the bullets themselves. So I'm curious to see where they go with that, like if it's specific
Yeah.
bullets or if they just actually kill people or whatever.
I think it's. I think. I think it is just in what's inside the briefcase,
Yeah,
rather than like they've shot holes in the briefcase and that blue light coming out of it.
yeah, out of the
No,
machine.
they have. Yeah, they haven't shot. They've just used normal guns. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think they have special guns or anything like that.
So he's on the rooftop of the diner, and then after that,
Mm.
he bamfs back down. I'm going to keep saying bamf, by the way, because he's the Umbrella Academy's
Yeah.
Nightcrawler. So
Yeah.
goes back into the alleyway, doesn't have the briefcase on him anymore, and then
No.
he looks up and sees the curtains closed. Looks at the antenna, and he sees the camera, and he goes, "What is that?" Back in the same alleyway that he dropped into as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
then after that, so he walks up and goes like up the stairs and figures out like, okay, who, like he wants to know who this person is. Knocks on the
Mhm.
window and says, and then this guy opens up the door and he says like, what do you want? And he goes, oh, I'm selling encyclopedias. Now something I noticed was that he looked through the door, so he looked like in, so he needed a path.
Yeah.
He needed to know what was inside,
Yeah.
and then bang, he's inside after he gets the door closed on him. And this is where this like Five, like the actor is so good. Like
He's really good, isn't he?
to go back to the first season, he goes, "Oh, I'm going through puberty again." Like the fact that
Yeah.
he says that is so funny.
But he does this thing, I don't know if you've noticed it, but he's always got like his neck craned
Mm,
and forward.
yeah, I
Don't know if
think
this will be on. I doubt this will be on the video, but I
no,
am
no,
actually doing it right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and
Good for
he's
podcasting.
yeah, he's always doing that crane thing, and he's constantly like working on like his body as a
Mm,
character,
yeah, to me
and I
to
think
me when
that's
I looked at
really
that,
good. He's dead
yeah,
hunched over and stuff,
yeah,
and I like the way he's done that as an actor. He's went like, okay, I'm gonna give him a body. I'm gonna encompass the character as a whole body.
Hmm.
Where a lot of actors won't do that.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? A lot of actors will just be like, "This is how I walk," so every character I play will walk like that.
yeah,
And this guy never, this child never really. He's only a kid, isn't he?
yeah,
And I think he's done dead well with it. I think he's really good.
yeah. Like the fact that he's a mature, like
Hmm.
he's an 80-year-old kid effectively, isn't he?
Yeah,
So well, he's
yeah,
an
yeah,
80-year-old in a kid's body, but his brain is still the
yeah,
same, which is, as you were saying, like he's constantly craning his neck like it's to the side. But to me, that sounds like he just looks at people like, you are so stupid, like, to
yeah.
everyone. So like his
He's
IQ is
yeah,
just skyrockets past anyone. So
yeah, yeah. I love all that.
yeah, so
Love
that
the way he treats people, but he
yeah,
still loves them. Still wants
yeah,
them all to survive, and
yeah, yeah,
you can feel that. But he hates them all, and he
yeah,
doesn't give a fuck about them. It's quite funny.
yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, so in other words, he's walking around, so the butter knife is still pointing at him, and he just goes like, whatever. Walks over, he goes, points at the coffee, and goes, "Is that fresh?" And he's addicted to coffee, clearly, much like me.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, so he pours the coffee, walks through, has a look, and he's just got there's newspaper clippings everywhere, and you start seeing like this dude. He's just been a mad hermit for 3 years,
Mm,
effectively, and then seeing on the newspaper clippings, and he cottons on almost immediately. He goes, "Have you heard of Area 51, Roswell?" And he goes, "Oh," and he starts freaking out. And he's like, "Yes, I'm not like, I'm not insane," and things like that. And he's
yeah,
like, and then you can see like the face that Five pulls. He just goes, "Got him," like that was it.
yeah, yeah.
And then
Doesn't he say the truth's out there?
yeah, yeah, because he goes like, "Oh,
He does, doesn't he? He
yeah,
says,
yeah."
yeah.
And then he goes like, "So it
I was
is
like,
all
yeah,
real,
that's
like
nice.
UFOs and all that." And he goes, "Well, the truth is out there." And as you were saying,
Yeah,
he cranes his neck with a cup full of coffee,
yeah,
and then he goes. And the funny thing is, so we find out that this dude's name is called Elliot in like about a minute's
yeah.
time, and he says to him, he's like, "What's the deal with anal probes?" And he gets way too close to Five, and Five just goes, "Stay close to me, and I'll get any closer to me, and I'll melt your brain." That to me was so funny because he was like, "Yep, yep, no, you need your space and whatever." So anyway, they keep talking, and then Elliot starts explaining like, I've seen you all before, like the camera set up,
Yeah,
everything." And then we get the flashback. So the flashback is 3 years earlier, so to the first person that drops in. So the first person to drop in was Klaus, and
yeah.
he was a TV and radio salesman at Morty's,
Mm.
uh,
Morty's, yeah,
Morty's, and he goes, and so he finds it all, and then in other words, he starts just going like more and more mad from then on in, and
yeah.
he collects all the newspaper clippings from everyone that drops. He's taking pictures of them all that kind of stuff. And this is where this was quite funny to me, as he explains about Luther, and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, like the really big tall guy, the really sensitive type." And he goes, "Sensitive?" Like Five says, "Sensitive." He goes, "Yeah, yeah, like, he's just constantly walking back into the alleyway, crying, laying on the rubbish." That was funny to me.
Yeah,
And then so we get so out of that flashback, and then he goes, "Yeah." So, and he explains about Diego, that um, the assassin type, and he goes, "Okay." Uh, and he goes, "Where is he?" And he pulls out the newspaper clipping, and there he is. He's been committed to the mental hospital. And then
yeah,
we go straight to there, and then we see Diego sitting in the seat, like everything's like pristine hospital white. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like surgical grade white, or everything's like that. And then so we see him sitting there in the middle of the seats, and then right next to him is this woman that's fidgeting, which we'll come back to. And then
yeah,
it's Elliot's turn. It's Diego's turn to speak, and he starts speaking to the psychiatrist who wants to
yeah,
talk to him, and but he kind of bullies him a little bit, which is weird for me. So like, you know what I mean? He's kind of like, "This is like my plaything," and Diego's just like,
yeah,
I'm a grown man, like I'm not insane."
yeah.
Maybe not fully
He's just
insane, but
stuck.
I imagine he's not been doing well in a mental hospital, has he? So, and then
No.
he says, like, he tries to explain about his dad and things like that, and then you can tell after he's finished speaking to him, you tell the lady next to him leans in and just goes, "You are full of shit," and he goes like, "Yeah," and you can just
Yeah,
tell that she's just insane, more or less,
yeah,
like she's just nuts, and you can tell she's possibly obsessed. So when he gets up, because what he does is he sees the pen in the doctor's
yeah,
in his pocket, and then he goes, "Right, I need that." And then in anyone's head, he goes like, "Okay, well, he's gonna like, we've all seen James Bond, we've all seen Spy and everything like
yeah.
that." And then so he goes, all right,
Anyone
let
could
me
do
get the pen.
anything with a pen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like MacGyver.
Anyone, any superhero can do anything with a pen.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
know what I mean?
yeah,
Get
yeah.
anywhere, do anything. Just
Just
one
make
pen.
just make a laser beam out of it and
Yeah,
fry
one
somebody.
pyro can get you through anything.
Yeah, he gets so has a little bit of a scuffle with him. Gets the pen, sits back down, and she notices. She notices big time. She's like, "How did he like? Okay, he did it." And then it flashes
Mm,
straight over to them two sitting there, and she pulls bacon out of a shoe, and he's like, "Where did you get that from?" The cafeteria. Swiped it before. Do you want some? No. And then
mm,
anyway, so he's talking. So he's talking about how he's going to get out of there and he's going to save the president and things like that. And he's making these beads. So this to me was a very like it was kind of like a solid, um, like bang. This is she's
yeah.
obsessed with him because they're making the beads. He drops the beads, gets super annoyed, and then they start talking about getting out of there and stuff like that. And he says about like shave the bars and things. While they're talking, I thought that was like that whole interaction was quite good. You can tell that Diego's just frustrated.
Mm,
He just wants to get out,
yeah.
but he
Well, I
doesn't. He
think.
doesn't want to get out because of freedom. He wants to get out because he wants to save the president.
Well, I think that is a really good point because they keep going on about the hero complex throughout that scene, don't they? Like
Yeah,
he's got a hero complex. He has to save the day. He has to do these things, these little bits to make him feel like a hero.
yeah,
And I didn't really like Diego in the first season
mm,
because he has a hero complex in the first season. He's always trying to save people. He's always trying to be this cool person and do all this stuff.
and he,
And he just annoyed. He was the annoying one in that season, and I think he played the actor was perfect at it,
mm,
but he was meant to annoy me
yeah,
personally. I felt.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I think personally, your character annoys me, but then to flip it on its head now and call him out on it
yeah,
straight away, first episode, you're this.
yeah.
That's all you are as a person. That's your character. We've just watched the season of it. The show's saying that, in it, essentially
Yeah.
saying
Well,
we've
and
just
and
watched the
people
season of
say it
this.
to him, and like
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
says it to him. Yeah.
So we're gonna get another season of it, or is that what we're doing, or are you just doing the same thing again? Really quite meta storytelling, but I think it done it really well.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
much so that the lady who we don't know her name yet, uh,
yeah,
because that comes later episodes, but we don't know her name yet. How she's talking about how he's upset, and then she goes, "If this is about the Jello," and then he's like, "This is not about the Jello," and then he pauses, and you can tell he's still really angry
yeah. Oh,
about
he's
that
still
Jello.
fuming,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Do
The
you
Jello cups.
think? Do you think though she's a little bit too Harley Quinn? Just a
Oh,
little bit. It's a little bit too much. Like
yeah. Like a little
she's
bit.
doing well. That like the writers have went. Harley Quinn has sold well. She got her own film, but she was the shining light. She got her own one. She's just got her own TV show. And I was like, they've defo seen it and it defo accommodated that character with it.
Mhm.
And that's literally within what, 2 minutes of seeing it.
Yeah.
I just felt that straight away. I don't know how you felt about that.
Yeah, like to be honest, I didn't actually. That's a really good point. Like it's very Harley Quinn, to but Harley Quinn kind of a lot of the time she's always smiling, whereas like she's not exactly
Yeah, yeah, like
she's not
yeah.
conniving. So I think they've done the same thing. Like she's playing like someone who's going around the bend sort of thing. Or
Woo,
yeah,
wild,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
say,
like
ooh,
fully
I'm
wild, but
crazy,
but not
quirky.
over the top. So I
Yeah,
thought it was good. It was good the way she plays it, but like you can tell any
yeah.
movement anyone makes, she's thinking about it. Whereas Harley Quinn's more like
Hmm.
I can do a cartwheel through like bars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that, where she can't.
She's obsessed with Diego.
Yes,
You
so
can feel that straight away. She's
yeah,
just focused on him.
yeah, all the time.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
So much so, which brings me to the point that Diego gets a visitor and he turns around and goes, "Who is it?" And the guard, he's a guard, isn't he? And he goes, "I don't know, I'm not your
orderly.
receptionist." Yeah, the orderly. He's like, "I'm not your
Yeah, the
receptionist." He goes,
orderly. They
"Okay."
call it.
So anyway, he gets up, leaves, and then this is where the obsession, which I picked up pretty much immediately. She like snatches his beads off the table and
Mm,
puts them on
yeah.
immediately. So and then anyway, so then it cuts to Five is sitting in the visitor room, so Five sitting there, and they start talking about like going back to the hero complex and things like that. He's just saying like, no, like I need to save the president, and then Five just goes, and this is why you don't have any friends. It's like, yeah, that's why. Like, and then he goes like, all right, yeah,
Yeah.
no, like, and then you can tell that it twigs in his head. He goes like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then
Yeah.
um, he starts talking about like, I'm going to save the president, this and that, and this and that, and then 5, you can just tell he's just like, this is not. Just leave it. Like, you're going to change everything, but
Hmm.
just stop it. But you can.
Yeah.
But when you like uh, look at 5, you can tell that he's already thinking about something else. He's not just focused on Diego, which is
Yeah, he's
good.
gone.
Yeah,
The
he's
moment he spoke to Diego, he's went, "You're not going to help me. I'm moving on."
but he kind of does bring him around a little bit, which is good because he says like some real key points, and then Diego goes, "Okay, I'll play along with you. What do you want to do?" He says this. He says like about the end of the world, stuff like that, and he
Hmm.
actually kind of believes in this, and like he kind of believes him, which is good. And
Yeah.
then so that moves on, and then uh, he goes, "Okay, but I'm gonna go save the president," and you can just and 5 just goes, "Oh, really? Just drop it."
Yeah.
Like that's
Well,
it.
he's at that point. 5 is the audience.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And he's saying to like, leave it now. We're
yeah,
done with this part of your character's over.
yeah. You
Let's
need to get
move
over it.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
really
It's like
clever, really
yeah.
funny.
And then so as Diego tells 5 about like he's getting out of there, he's escaping, he's shaved the bars
Hmm.
to his cell. 5 goes, "Oh, okay," and then anyway goes like, "All right, that's it. All right, you aren't gonna help me. Cool, I'll come back for you later." And then says to the guards, they give him a needle, and this was quite interesting to me as well because obviously Diego needs to be 100% fully active. Like I need to
Yeah,
be like sharp on it all the time. And
yeah,
then that needle comes out and he screams like, "Don't give me the needle!" And he's petrified. Whether he's petrified of needles, but even though he's the dude who throws knives everywhere, I don't know.
yeah.
But anyway, so that's when that drops in. And so after that scene, we go to Vanya, but we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back. And we're back. Okay, cool. So we're after we left Diego and he gets the needle stuck into, we go see Vanya, and then so now we are at Vanya's uh, carer's property. I imagine you would say because they were the
Yeah,
people
like
that
the farm.
the farm. So we're at the farm because the woman was the one that hit Vanya. So
Yeah, sissy.
yes, Sissy. Um, Vanya's playing with Harlan, the kid. He's not really
Yep.
making much noise, and then you can see that she's super happy. Um, and then Sissy starts talking to her about like anything, like do you have any memories or whatever. She has nothing. She has nothing.
No.
Um, that whole scene is it's quite lovely, really, isn't it? To like it
Yeah, it is. It's really nice.
kind of break up everything as well.
Yeah, the farm's really pristine. I think it's like it's glowing. It looks very family orientated. Like it's like they're a family at that point. But I want to ask you, what do you think of amnesia in general in a TV show? Because I'm not a big fan.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a good tool if used right. But I think
Yeah,
in this case, it was something happened to Vanya, didn't it? So she's
yeah,
like, you know what I mean. She's always like throughout the last season as well. She was something good happened. Something was really nice. Something
mm,
like you know what I mean. And then it all came crashing down. So in this
yeah,
time, instead of it being going from bad to getting like to being good, then to going bad again. From this episode, it just goes bad. So like it goes from bad and then it's making its way up to good again. So
yeah.
I think it's used well. It just it kind of
I just
like
think
yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a cop out.
Okay. Why is that?
Like she should have to deal with the fact that she's just murdered everyone, like in the entire world. Like we know she's killed everyone. She was the apocalypse,
Yeah.
and now for how many ever episodes, she might never deal with it.
Yeah.
She might never ever have to deal with that issue.
Mhm.
And I think why give us 9 episodes, 10 episodes last season of a build up of this one character who I really found interesting to then just be like, well, she's not here anymore
Mhm.
because she's just a random person. Now she's a brand new character at this point to us.
Well, from coming
Do
from
you know
the
what I
last
mean?
coming yeah, no, I know what you mean, but coming from like the last episode, you would say that like her powers come from grief and anger
Emotion and
and
it, yeah,
emotion. So like all of our emotions like build up and then bang. So I
yeah,
imagine
yeah,
so not going into any more episodes or anything like that.
yeah.
You could
And I think it's
like
done well.
I could kind of see where this was building. It did like
Yeah,
in all fairness, it did like not annoy me or disappointed or anything like that. I was kind of a bit like, you know, Like, okay, like
Yeah,
what
that's what
they
I
should
mean.
they should like she is powerful. Let her be powerful.
Yeah,
Sort of
like
thing.
I'd have liked it to be like, does she like? Give me the question of, does she really remember or is she faking? Is she
Yeah.
pretending so she doesn't like? That's not even there. It's just yeah, she's got amnesia.
Well, did you not
Like
think that like at all? Did you just go she has no memories?
yeah, she says, doesn't she? She's like, oh, I've got no memories. I was like,
No, but
oh yeah, yeah. So she does. It's not really like poised. She doesn't give like a little or anything like to indicate that she's lying
yeah,
when she says. Do you know what I mean? Where
yeah,
normally they give like one of them like, like the character that like look to the side a bit conniving or something,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it doesn't do anything like that. It's just kind of you're meant to take. It felt like to me like you're meant to take it at face value that
Mm,
she has amnesia,
mm,
and she didn't have it coming through. She had it when she got knocked down
mm,
as well.
mm.
Do you know what I mean? Which I found was weird as well.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know. I just think
Well,
I think
she was
it
knocked out in the
creates.
last episode, wasn't she? She only woke up when she hit the ground.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I just think it creates a lack of consequence,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
and
No, I'm with you.
it's consequences her character shouldn't have to deal because it wasn't her fault, but that she weren't taught how to train her powers. She was taught how to subdue her powers,
Yeah. Just bottle it
but
up.
at the same time, yeah, at the same time, write it, right, what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
I'm
my
with you.
biggest negative, I think, in this episode
Right.
is
Okay.
that we didn't deal with her issue.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The fact, the
Yeah,
fact
yeah.
that she caused the apocalypse.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
she
she
killed
wasn't
billions of
alone.
people.
She wasn't alone on that fact though. See, because coming back to the
No,
first episode, because I hated Luther for that. Like Allison
yeah,
comes over and says like this, you like writes on the pad saying like you're an idiot more or less. It's like let her go,
yeah,
and Allison was like don't. But the word which really annoyed me, but that she couldn't speak, but also it made like it gave it more like
yeah,
oomph, like
yeah,
it made everyone frustrated, made everyone like well for me anyway like the audience it was like oh just let her do a thing, you know what I mean, like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's not her fault, like you did it, like you know what I mean, like she was confused anyway.
yeah,
But anyway, so going on further from that, so then we start meeting like the family. So we see Carl, which is the dad, who I think is
yeah.
an absolute dick and I hate him.
No, he comes straight in, don't he? Straight
Oh
in. You're like, yeah, you're a
yeah,
dickhead.
like oh go
Straight
away.
away, you just know immediately.
Yeah,
And
like
I think that's good. That's good. That's good. Like film, like TV making.
mhm,
You know what I mean? The show makes it like because it's all nice and it's all pretty, and the sun's coming in, and they're
yeah.
having a lovely family time. And this guy walks in, and immediately you're just like, he's a dickhead.
Yeah,
Me,
and
yeah, you
and like the whole setting as well, like everything's quite like that
yeah,
like 60s yellow. You know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
was the
yeah, yeah,
thing, like that dark yellow.
yeah,
Yeah, and like all that kind of stuff. And then they start talking, and then we find out that the kid Harlan, he doesn't speak at all. So and
yeah,
then you start seeing like that family dynamic and stuff like that, and this is what really cemented the fact that he's a dick, like that the dad's a dick, is that he goes like he swears in front of the kid, and he goes and he's like don't like, and Sissy says like don't swear in front of him, and he's like if he says
yeah,
anything, if he says like son of a bitch, I will buy him a car, or sorry, I'll buy him a BB gun. And I was like I
yeah,
hate you. But the thing is like also what I had to come back to was you're in the 60s, this is a
yeah.
60s
That was
thing,
okay.
you know,
That was
yeah,
okay. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that was like no one knew. So yeah, so like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then whereas Vanya, like you can kind of tell that she's like, you're an idiot. Also, I'm fully on Sissy's side, and also like
yeah,
in from my viewing of it, it was like she knows, but she doesn't know because obviously she has amnesia. Like she thinks she's
yeah,
just in the 60s. She doesn't know like modern science anymore. Well, yeah,
yeah.
she doesn't know modern science anymore. So anyway, and then we find that, and then Carl leaves, says he's going to work in inverted commas.
Work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
work. And then anyway, so then you find like, and then Vanya does this look to Sissy and stuff like that, and you can just tell like she cares. She cares about Sissy. Maybe
mm,
not so much about Carl, but she does. She cares for that family, especially because they brought
yeah.
her in and stuff like that, and she's taking care of them. And
Hmm.
then so we move on to after that. So we go to Klaus and Ben. So they're on the road. They're in the car. They're arguing, and then the car breaks down, and they're talking about like, well, Ben's more or less just giving loads of shit to Klaus, saying like, you need to do this, and he like rips him for what he's wearing and his beard and
Yeah.
things like that, which is quite funny. I really like their dynamic, them two
I
together.
I love Klaus and Ben.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love. I didn't like Klaus in the comics.
Okay.
I thought you were just a little emo in the comics. So, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The comics don't do his character justice
Mm.
at all. The actor who was in Skins, weren't he? Robert Sheehan
Yeah.
from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
He comes across really well,
Mm-hmm.
like as the addict, and he hates his power. He doesn't like his power, but then he loves Ben, but then
Mm-hmm.
he hates Ben.
Mm.
And then you really feel Ben's frustration in this episode, and especially towards the end of last season,
Mm.
of how little he can impact anything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was he was what, number 4
Think
in
so.
the
Yeah.
family,
Mm.
or I can't remember what number he was, but like he's part of the family,
I
and he
remember that
doesn't
for
get to speak to any of them,
yeah, I remember that for
and
next
it's
episode to do a list of what actual what numbers they are. But
numbers,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I just think it's really good. It's just a really it's it's done really well. That like his frustration that he can't help, he can't do anything, he can't like he's just got this idiot Klaus, some drug addict.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
all he can do is talk to this drug addict. You know what I mean? And I
Mm,
just really like their dynamic, the character, especially Klaus's character when we get to the more emotional beats further on in his character development. It's really good.
hmm. Yeah, like so. I think, and then so moving on with development and stuff like that. So Ben says something about San Francisco that he's got unfinished business there and things like that.
Yeah,
And I think that was quite interesting because it was like, why do you need to go to San Francisco in the '60s of all times?
yeah.
Why do you need to be there now? And then
But why do you need to go back to Dallas?
yeah,
That's the bigger
as
question.
well, yeah, like
Why is he going back?
yeah, why are you going there and wherever? Well, then again, that's where he landed and stuff like that. Well, and then as it progresses in later episodes, you do understand as to why he goes back to Dallas.
Hmm.
But it's just like they're both really
Yeah,
driven, and then it's two people butting heads. But then
yeah.
Ben's also a ghost; he can't do anything. So
Can't do
he
anything.
just
And
has to sit in the
yeah,
car and deal with it. So the car's broken down. They have a massive fight because Ben says something to Klaus like, no one likes you or something like that, or like you have no friends,
yeah,
and he just goes, "That's it." And the funny part about that scene as well is that Klaus is fighting on the floor and they're having a full fight, and some dude just
yeah.
drives past them, and it's just him. It's just Klaus by himself
It's
fighting
just
on the floor.
whacking
Yeah,
nothing. He's doing like the
yeah,
girly fight thing.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sick, innit?
Like yeah, like the or like the Angry Beavers fight where they just slap hands and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And okay, so then the car's broken down. They walk and they find themselves a bar. They go into the bar and Klaus walks in and one of the dudes go, "You lost, boy," and he's just like, "No, just thirsty," and then carries on. So like he just doesn't care anymore. Like he just, you know what I mean?
mm,
So which is really really good. Like he's been he's been yelled at and like he's had all that all his life, so he just doesn't care anymore. Like it just washes over him, like whatever.
Well, I think that's quite poignant as well because obviously there's a gay thing in it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You say the F word a lot
Hmm.
to him,
Hmm.
and I think the show reacts with the characters.
Hmm.
So like Klaus doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Klaus is just
Well, like
boom,
he
super
doesn't care
open.
he
He's
doesn't care for people
yeah,
either, like at
yeah,
all.
yeah. He probably, I think he'd be technically be pansexual,
Hmm.
but he doesn't care about that. So the show doesn't care, and I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. So
Yeah.
then when you get to the next scene, which we'll talk about,
Mm.
um, yeah, so Alison doesn't care. So then the show, oh, Alison does care. So we go more in detail on that,
Mhm.
and I think that's really clever storytelling.
Mhm.
So we're getting because if a character doesn't care, we can't care.
Mhm.
So Klaus doesn't care about any of that issue, though. So he doesn't really care about much issues.
Mhm.
So when that stuff gets brought up from the 60s, which by the way sounds like an awful time
Yeah.
for anyone who isn't white,
Yeah.
and then and so then yeah, like it's really good storytelling because you can't you can't go into every issue
Mhm.
all the time,
Yeah. No, big
but you
time.
can go into the issues that the characters care about.
Yeah.
So they do, and I think that's done really well.
Well, speaking about not caring, which leads us on to like the next scene anyway. They start playing poker,
Yeah,
which I thought was great because Ben, you think
yeah,
that's it, they're in, they're gonna win all this stuff, and Ben's like, yeah, yeah, like
yeah,
he's got nothing, he's bluffing and all that kind of stuff, and Klaus falls for it, line and sinker, doesn't he? So anyway, he goes like, yep, he
yeah,
gives him his necklace, and then which is like this gold starfish, and Ben's just sitting back going, yeah, yeah, cool, cool. And then anyway, the river comes out, so like the last card comes out, and then Klaus goes, oh no, and he drops like the kings, he goes full house, and then Klaus goes, that's not a bluffing hand, and Ben just goes, yeah, like you can just see Ben just goes, mm-hmm. And
yeah,
then so anyway, he loses, but he leans over the table, tries to swipe the keys, and absolutely sucks at sleight of hand. And then so anyway, so he gets like pinned up by them, and then he goes, "Okay, Ben, showtime," because they start having a fight, and Ben just goes, "Nah, I'm good," and just bails. And he goes, "Do you think this is a good time to self-actualize?" And then sprints out the door. And I thought that was brilliant because they've proper fallen out, haven't they?
yeah,
So he sprints out the door and then makes his way trying to find the truck after the pickup truck, and then runs off, gets it, and then they're off. Uh, then so the next
yeah,
scene is then we go to Allison. Uh, so Allison's husband. So we're in the Chestnut residence at this point in time. He busts through the door and he's got the newspaper in his hand. They're speaking about Kennedy and Kennedy's speech about um,
yeah.
like about rights and things like that, and how one man or woman, which is very well stipulated as well, when
Hmm.
Allison chimes in as well, um, that everyone should have equal rights. And they're both super stoked this is happening. She's bought all the papers in town, more or less, like to
Yeah.
sell this, and which is great. And then they're having this dynamic, and then what you realize afterwards is like, okay, so Allison got there, like like she got there pretty quickly. Oh, so she was the second one in, and she's had this life, and
Hmm.
she got married pretty quickly to like into the Chestnuts. So
Yeah.
which I thought, I was like, wow, okay, like a lot can happen in a couple of years, especially in Dallas. And then so you
Hmm.
start seeing that these two they're fighting for rights, like black rights in the '60s, which is just a slog, isn't it? Like you can just see it's just this
Yeah,
shoot.
oh,
It's
it's awful,
soup.
isn't
Oh,
it?
it's horrible. Like it really like is
Yeah.
really harsh. And to see them both super happy, super excited, and then they're going like, "Yes, we're doing it. We're like this is all happening." And then um, he says something about Kennedy. And he's like, yeah, like I'm like the Kennedy's coming to town. I'm super excited. And Allison kind of pauses and just goes like, I don't want you to get up, like, I don't want you to get your hopes up that much about Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, like, I forgot for like a full second. Then I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Like, she's
Yeah.
going, like, she's
She
back in the
knows.
60s. Yeah. And I was like, like, and then he was like, like, and he just goes, like, why? Like, why don't you want me to, like, know these things? Or why don't you want me to be excited? And she's like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
like be excited. And, like, just kind of go, mm-hmm. And then, which was a big one for me, she gets given a book by the husband, which who I can't remember his name at this point in time. Uh, gets given the book, and it's about the moon because she's constantly staring at the moon, and which is going back from the first one because Luther lived up there, didn't he? And
Hmm.
so he gives her the book, and she gets super like emotional about it and stuff like that. And then anyway, it cuts to the next scene after that, which is Luther fighting in the barn, which was super. Like I thought this was awesome. I was like, yes, finally. Like after watching that first opening scene, like Luther just like beating people up, and I was like, yeah, sweet, we can see
Yeah.
his power and stuff. But then I was like, hang on a minute, what's happening here? He's getting beaten up by like a dude, like a normal dude. Well, like
Uh,
a like granted a jack dude, that's for sure, but you know what I
yeah.
mean. And then I was like, okay, what's going on? And then when he looks over to the dude in the black suit, the guy in the black suit, and I went, ah, I get it, it's full on, like this is all rigged, like you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
then find it like this is watching that fight and things like that. I thought, like going a little bit inside baseball, I guess you could say, the prosthetics are like, how is he moving and doing those cool
Yeah. They look
things?
great.
Like they look great. Like
Mm,
they flushed it in like brilliantly and stuff like that. So when it kicks into the fact that Luther can fight back now, like he's gonna win now, and he does like this roundhouse flying kick, and I was like, dude, that's sick.
yeah.
And you can see like he's very fluid, and he looks like really good when he's doing it, and like none of the prosthetics falter as well. And I was like,
No,
wow,
the actor's done really well.
yeah, yeah, like that must have
Mm,
sucked being in that suit. That must have been so hot
yeah.
the whole time, like just
Oh,
sweating.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
especially so yeah, like so that was like a really really good scene. Like loved it, and the funny part was as well, like Luther for how hard he is, he was still spitting out blood. You know what I mean? So like he was
Yeah,
still like so, which is interesting to me. That means like he's still getting knocked about to his face and stuff like that, but he's just spitting out blood because I imagine like that dude, he's only reaching his jaw and his cheekbones and stuff like that. He
yeah.
hasn't reached any higher. Like his eyebrows aren't split or anything like that.
Mm,
So like anyway, and then after the fight's done, he knocks the dude out after that roundhouse kick, and then walks over, gets the money, gives it to this guy, and he goes like, "Okay, yeah, like good on you." And to me, it was a bit like I thought at first it was he was like, "Oh, I don't really want to do this," and then he kind of seemed happy about it. I'm not too
oh,
sure.
he's game, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's game. Like,
but
so he's game to fight people. Like,
yeah, like unless
he's
he's
in
like,
on it. Like,
I imagine he's just tired, like he's just knackered, and he was just like, "That's it, like,
mm,
here, I'll take your money, or like, I want to go now." So anyway, they pull the car around, and then the next scene, we go back into the chestnut hair. So we go in, so we see the chestnuts, and we go into the hair salon, which is primarily a black hair salon. So
mm,
they're a black women's hair salon. Yeah, it is, and
yeah,
then they go into there and they're talking about like having this sit down and stuff like that. And when I was like, I was listening to it, like listening to it. Oh, sorry, watching it even, and I was like, okay, so what do they mean by that? This sit down, like, what are they going to do? Like protest in on the street or something like that? And then
yeah, yeah,
Allison says this place, and I was like, okay, so that's a house or that's a building.
yeah,
Okay, cool, no worries. And then so that's all going on. So and the main thing that the husband says at all times, honor and dignity. We do not want anything to happen. We do not want to throw punches. We don't want fights, anything like that.
yeah,
Honor and dignity. And then this happens, this big moment, which I just wanted to snap the TV in half because I was just so angry.
yeah.
The white guy knocks on the door, and he's
No, he's the
just,
worst.
oh, he's a dick. Oh, like, but like going to the
Like
acting
the
side,
worst.
like
Oh,
going
he's
to the,
great at it.
like, yeah, he's a great,
Nailed it.
yeah, he's a nailed it for being a dickhead. But then
Yeah,
going to the character side, he shows up, and then you were kind of like invested in all these other stories, and you kind of not forget, but like we had like a moment of like, okay, cool, like this Umbrella Academy action, all this kind of stuff, and then it was like bang, drama again. Like we're still here, we're still in the '60s, this is still
mm,
happening, and then you go right, okay, I'm back into it. All right, this is happening,
yeah,
and then he starts talking about he owns a few buildings on the other side of the street, and then Allison says, "Yeah, but you don't own this one, do you?" And he goes, "No, not yet." And he winks at her, and I was like, "Oh God, poke his eyes out!"
mm,
and then anyway, so they go, "Okay, well, you don't, so you can step off my property now." Uh, so tries to close the door, and he puts his foot in the door, and then he says, "Like, did you purposely do that?" And this is when I was like, "Whoa, hit him, go on, like
uh,
get him." And then this popped back into my head. It was like honor and dignity, and I was like, okay, right, okay. And then he goes to swing for him, and Allison stops him and just kicks his ass, like boots him back into the street.
so
And
sick.
I really, really wish that she just went ham on him. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
honor and dignity again, which the husband does say. He just goes, "Oh, so much for honor and dignity," and Allison says him first, and she's super like, oh, because he says to her, like, did that like I bet that felt good, and she said, you have no idea. And yeah,
yeah.
and
Because
then
you forget, like all these characters, like they're all superheroes, so they all can fight. They're all quite strong. They're all like anyway. So like, imagine going from like being a superhero, the most famous woman on the planet, apparently in season one,
oh, she was an actor,
to
wasn't she?
yeah,
Mm.
to being a second class citizen,
Yeah, I know, yeah,
and
like
then you get some slimy nerd coming at you.
oh
Like trying to, you just be like, no, fuck it, I'm just
no.
knocking him right out. Like,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. After that happens, so then we
like
go,
therefore it was good. And some more to your point, what you were saying
mhm,
about how the show goes like from wild moments to really serious moments.
mm,
I think that's probably its biggest strength
yeah,
as a show. Actually, you know what? I'll save that for the final thoughts
okay,
because
okay, cool, cool.
I'll save that. It's a big thought.
Okay, so we're moving on. So to more or less breeze over this quick scene, but to pick up on a
Yeah.
couple of points, so we go back to the farm, the household, and Vanya walks down the stairs and
Mhm.
says like, "Oh, I can't sleep. Is there any more of that cake?" And Sissy's smoking, and you can tell she's stressed out after the day and
Yeah.
whatever. And obviously Carl's not back yet, is he? And so they go into like this barn, and then they start talking about what Sissy wanted to be and all this kind of stuff, and she wanted to be like effectively a checkout chick in this one specific place, which kind of said to me, it's like, okay, she's like idolizing these women, like these really glammed up,
Mm.
like dolls, like, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
music was great and everything like that, and like the dad used to take her there and stuff like that. She was loving it. And then also she says about she has an escape tin. So she every penny, everything she possibly has, she puts
Mhm.
that Carl doesn't notice, she puts in this tin. And I thought like, wow, okay, so like this is like you really want to get out of there. You want to be like
Yeah.
you don't love this man anymore. And like I was like, yes, finally, like do it because he's a dick. Anyway, she goes, yeah, but look at me now, like I'm not in oh, I'm not beautiful anymore or something along them lines. And then
Yeah.
so I'm not elegant anymore. And Vanya says to her, you're plenty elegant. And I was like, that's it. This is the start. This is that. Um,
There's that little spark. We
there's
see
the
it coming.
spark. Yeah, it's happening. Yeah, like just the spark of the Tinder onto the
Yeah.
Tinder box. Okay, so and then straight after that, so it drops from like we were saying before, it drops from like this like really lovely moment, and then bang, we're
Yeah.
into this. So Diego wakes up, and the soundtrack to this was like this cover. I thought it was fantastic. It was really like that was well done to the composer
Mm.
there. I think
What
he did
was
a
the
really good
cover
job.
again?
So it was crazy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it was there. It was really good, actually. Yeah, I like that bit as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's like waking up and he's an assassin. He's done this. He gets
Mm.
himself out of handcuffs and he's in a straitjacket. And while he's like super woozy and he runs into that wall,
Yeah,
which
it
is
does
so yeah,
the classic shoulder break. Yeah,
that's
the
it.
shoulder
Yeah.
dislocate.
So he
Yeah,
dislocates his
classic.
shoulder, and which, funnily enough, against a wall which is supposed to be cushioned, so you don't do that. And then so he gets himself out of the straitjacket, and then that pen. So he pulls out the pen, breaks it open, and then MacGyver's the lock, and then makes his way out.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
That's again with like what I think the show does really well is like it's like because it's just it's a comic book show.
Hmm.
It's like yeah, they got a pen and open the lock. Like
Yeah.
that was it. Like you don't ask questions. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Don't look too far into it. That
Hmm.
you just did it.
Hmm.
Don't care. You did it. It's fine. Move on. And
Yeah.
that I really like that about the show.
Yeah. No,
It's
that was good.
just like yeah, that happened. Move on. Don't bother. Don't
Yeah.
think too much on that.
And then while the
Really good.
song's still going, so he makes his way out. The Swedes rock up, and then you go, all right, that's it. Like he's had that injection. Like how quickly is he gonna wake up? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
all. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Like, are we gonna have a death? I was like, because he's just
Mhm.
he's just incapacitated. The milkman comes up and he shoots the dude with a
Mhm.
shotgun point blank, and then sets the alarm off more or less. Sets like the fire, like the lights off and what have you, and effectively a chase sequence happens. Um,
Yeah.
and then
Reminds me a lot.
mm,
If I can just interject,
mm,
Terminator 2.
right,
Do you know what I mean? You get
yeah,
that
yeah,
vibe
yeah,
from
yeah,
it with like
like
the
the
running
prison,
through and yeah,
yeah,
got that. That was like inspired by it. I didn't know it was.
yeah, yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, big time, yeah. That was very like the suspense and things like that. It's like this is gonna
Yeah.
happen, yeah. So then he gets attacked by that same guard, and then he's about to get like his lights beaten out more or less, and then
Hmm.
the lady saves him. So like the one that's obsessed with him saves him. Bang, puts his shoulder back in, and he's just like ah, and she starts screaming, and the Swedes look. A chase sequence happens and things like that, and I thought this was quite good.
Yeah.
And then what I thought was a bit like I didn't like the risk of life and other lives, whereas Diego I thought cared more. He gets a distraction and
Mm.
he flicks the switch and opens all the doors, and all the patients walk out, and they're now effectively cannon
Mm.
fodder.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
like
I agree with that. Yeah.
I understand he wants to save lives and things like that, but like at what cost? And then what happened here? Like, does he not care anymore? Like, what happened? You know,
Yeah.
like,
I agree
yeah,
with that.
maybe he's been there too long. I'm not too sure. So after all that happens, like a quite a good sequence, and then they escape. They go find some clothes, break into a car, which I thought was fantastic because she throws a brick through the car window,
Yeah.
and then he gets around the other side and goes, "You realize this window's open?" And then they get in the car, and then they get
It
off, which I thought was quite good.
was great.
Yeah, and then so we're getting on to the last scene now. The next scene is we are in the strip club after they've escaped. We find out that's where Luther's been holding up. So
Yeah.
he's been living here for that long, and he's dressed in like a full suit. He's clearly the bodyguard. He's the security. He's the doorman. But what I thought was
Yeah.
quite good is he's drinking beer, like drinking like beer at the bar and stuff like that, which means he's living now. He's allowed to live. Whereas in like the
Yeah.
last episode, he was completely like he was straight cut, and like teetotal, no beer, no drugs, no
Hmm.
alcohol, nothing. And this one, he's just casually having a beer and he's loving
Yeah.
it.
He's given less fucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
You know what I mean?
he's just not caring. He's just taking care of his employer. That's it. So a lady comes up to him and says, like you said, all that house business and stuff like that. She's waiting for the big tippers, and then like it's not late enough yet. And then anyway, she says, "Oh yeah, but there's that guy over there who's asked for you." His eyes widen. He goes, "That's five." Obviously, because it's a kid in a private school
Yeah. Sure.
uniform, just sitting there at front and center to a strip club, and then so he walks over. Five explains to him like what's going on here and things like that, and Luther's just like, "You can't be here. Like I've moved on. This is all happening." And then Five explains like the world's gonna end again,
Yeah.
like in 10 days time. And Luther just turns around to him and just says, "I don't care." Like,
Yeah. It's like that bit actually. That's really good.
yeah, that was exactly it. But like throughout the monologue and stuff like that, he's talking about like how much he doesn't care. Sorry, how much like what's going to happen in the world and things like that. Everything's going to
Yeah.
go down. And then you see a quick flash to the chestnuts where Allison's laying on her husband. And they're nicely like they're just asleep on the couch and like everything's
Hmm.
quite nice. But he's still talking about like I need you. I need us all back together. And then that's the first
Yeah.
episode down. So yeah, we're gonna move
Yeah.
on. So we'll move on to final thoughts, and then so what do you think about the whole episode?
Yeah. I think this was an amazing first episode. I think it set the tone. It gave us some stakes. It let us know what was going to happen, like another end of the world. But it was kind of like in a funny way. It kind of was just kind of like, oh, well, we brought it with us. We're doing it again, type of vibe.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, but I think something it's doing, and I think me and you both watched like Arrow and that back in the day.
yeah.
Now, if you think about them, it was really grounded. Everything was serious and real, and you
Gritty.
know. And then the Flash came, and it had the little extra bits, but it was always real, very
Yeah,
gritty, yeah, very like
and a bit more,
very
a bit.
based in the world.
It's very
And
scientific.
now, yeah, and now we're getting in this really amazing, I'd say, golden era of comic book shows,
Yeah, yeah,
where you've got shows like Watchmen, The Boys, this. I would say Teen Titans as well is probably similar. Gotham as well,
yeah,
where it just balls in.
yeah. Big
Just
time. Yeah.
this is what the show is. The graphics don't matter
Hmm.
because the graphics aren't always great. Like when you watch like The Boys, you watch Watchmen, they just don't hold back anymore in
Mm.
terms of story, in terms of weirdness, in terms of can you not follow it? That's your fault.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And I really like that. I really like how we've went there now. Like
and we're
everything's very
seriously we're hitting on some really hard, like very hard hitting emotional beats as well,
mm,
which I think like
but
which
then
is historical beats.
yeah, but then we've still got the end of the world. We've still
Hmm.
got those comic book stakes. But we're allowing them to be weird. We're allowing the comic book artists to come out.
Hmm.
Okay, we can't have full Vanya in the white and the lines all over it. Luther's not looking like Luther from the comic,
Mm.
but we still get that aesthetic of the
Hmm.
show. It's still there.
Yeah, very
Do
much
you know
so.
what I mean? And I just really enjoy that we're getting that now. We're getting like, oh, this is really weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
time doesn't make sense, but that's your fault. Don't like if you don't understand it, don't watch it.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like yeah, like
Like, and
if you
I
want to think
really
about it,
enjoy
you
that.
can. Yeah, like if you want to think about it, you can, and it's like you can actually
Yeah,
think about the timeline and think about. But what I thought it was good is it's like okay, if you can go numb and just watch it, and like that's fine. You don't have to pay attention, like you won't have to go through it
Yeah.
exactly like a fine tooth comb like we did. Like if you want to pay attention, sweet, like you're gonna be enthralled, like, and then
Yeah.
you're gonna be sucked in, or you can just watch it for it is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
superhero thing, and they're all just, you know, doing whatever. But yeah, which I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
was quite good. Yeah, so
And I think we're getting there with shows in general now, especially comic book shows. We're just getting that like really weird stuff, like when you read your DCs and your Marvels and all these crazy comics, and they're really weird. Do you know what I mean? Like the really weird timelines, the really weird stuff, and we're going there now, and I'm really happy with that
yeah,
because we never used to 10 years ago when Arrow first started and all this, and we were watching it, and it was like, oh my god, Arrow's so tame when you
yeah,
think about this show.
yeah.
Think about like where it all started in Arrow. And I know there's TV shows before that, but like let's say Arrow was the first one. It was dead real. Like, okay, you used a bow and arrow and he hit some mad shots, but it was all kind of like real.
Well, that's it. He's the Green Arrow, isn't he? He
And
is what he is. Like
yeah,
like in the end, they went there and they got him the boxing glove arrow, didn't they? So, you know,
yeah, yeah.
like so,
The attitude that the fans were just saying, give us it, give us it, give us it. And
yeah,
now we're really getting it. And I think the next batch of comic book stuff that we're going to get, we're going to be seeing that weird X-Men universes and, all that weird stuff where it gets crazy,
yeah,
like
yeah,
timelines and people and characters that are just absolute wild. We're
yeah,
going to get there, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be really good for comic books because this show's doing well as well.
yeah. It's certainly bringing a lot of things to light, and I can
Yeah, yeah,
see this is kind of what's happening is they're all going through that same phase. Like they're all, I think, besides one person isn't getting it, is five, whereas everybody else is they're starting to realize who they are, and they're starting to realize
mm,
like, okay, you're living a normal life effectively in the 60s,
yeah,
but you're dealing with a lot of troubles at the same time.
yeah,
But all in all, I think I think that first episode was great to get us like just to get us back into it. It was like,
yeah,
okay,
100%.
I'm so into this. Final words for it.
No, that's all for me.
Cool, no worries. So
Yeah,
we're gonna leave that there, and then we're gonna come back for the second episode. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you, BT, for joining us, and I'll see you on the next one.
yeah, no, thank you. See you on the next one.